The Denver Broncos are standing on the edge of a massive decision that could jeopardize our secondary to save our future. Riley Moss is the name at the center of a brewing storm that has the front office working overtime right now. We are looking at a high-stakes gamble where losing a rising star becomes the only way to fix a desperate draft situation. If the team pulls the trigger, it changes the entire map of our defense for years to come. This isn't just a rumor. It is a calculated risk that could build a dynasty or leave us totally exposed. Riley Moss is suddenly one of the most talked about players in the league, but not for his interceptions. He is a young talent with a very bright future. But there is a major problem. Our Broncos simply do not have enough high picks in the upcoming draft. We have exactly one pick in the top 100. That is a scary place for a team trying to rebuild and get back to the Super Bowl. To get more picks, the front office has to sell something valuable. That valuable thing is a player other teams really want. Right now, other teams are looking at our secondary and seeing a potential star they can snatch away. This news is hitting hard because we finally thought our defensive backfield was set for years. But if this really happens, everything changes for us. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next update. We need to stay together as a fan base because the decisions made this week will haunt us or help us for a decade. The logic is simple for the big bosses. They see a player like him, and they see a way to get a second-round or third-round pick. In the NFL, draft picks are like gold. You use them to find cheap young players who can play for 4 years without costing a lot of money. The problem is that he is entering the final part of his cheap deal. Soon, he will want over $20 million a year. That is a lot of money for a team that already has other big bills to pay. The coaches love him, and the players in the locker room love him too. He is a leader and a hard worker. Losing that kind of presence is never easy for a team that is trying to build a winning culture. But we have to remember that this league is a business first. Sometimes you have to sell when the price is highest. If they wait until next year, his value might go down or he might leave for nothing. The goal is to move him now while other teams are desperate for a starting cornerback. If we can turn one player into 2 or 3 high-quality draft picks, the roster gets deeper and younger. It is a cold way to look at the game we love, but it is how champions are built. Jaquan McMillian is the other side of this high-stakes coin. While everyone is watching the trade block, he is the one who has been providing the sparks we desperately need. Since he stepped into the starting lineup back in 2023, he has been a machine for taking the ball away. We have seen the flashes of greatness, but this new problem is exactly why the front office is sweating right now. If the team decides to trade his counterpart, the pressure on him doubles overnight. He has proven that he can find the football in the air, and he has a knack for being in the right place at the right time. But can he hold down the fort if his partner on the other side is a rookie? There is a real gap between his potential and the current frustration the fans are feeling about the roster size. We know he is a playmaker. We know he brings an energy to the field that is hard to replace. However, the front office knows that even he could be part of the trade talk if the price is right. It creates a weird tension in the building. Imagine being one of the best players on the defense and knowing you might be packed up and sent away just to get a draft pick. It is the kind of stress that can break a locker room. We have watched him grow from an undrafted guy into a household name for Broncos fans. The frustration comes from seeing good players leave just when they are getting great. We want to see him stay and continue to haunt opposing quarterbacks. But if the team decides to pivot, he might find himself in a new city before the weekend is over. The front office is looking at the numbers and the draft board, while the fans are looking at the heart and soul of the defense. He represents that heart. If he is moved, or if his teammate is moved, the chemistry of the entire unit is at risk. It is a delicate balance that could easily tip the wrong way. We have seen teams tear apart their secondary before, and it usually leads to a long season of giving up big plays. This is the tightrope the team is walking. Every single interception he makes increases his value, making it even harder for the team to decide what the right move is today. This situation matters because it will decide if we win more games this year, or if we are building for a dream that is 3 years away. If the team trades away a starting cornerback, they are basically saying they value the future more than the present. It means they are willing to take a step back right now so they can take 2 steps forward later. For us fans, that is a hard pill to swallow. We want to see wins on Sunday. We want to see our defense shutting down the best receivers in the world. If we lose a key player, it becomes much harder to do that. The direct consequence is that a rookie or a less experienced player will have to step up immediately. In the NFL, there is no place to hide a weak link. If a young guy is not ready, quarterbacks will find him, and they will attack him all game long. This could help them win more games in the long run if they get elite talent in the draft, but the risk of failure right now is huge. We have seen seasons fall apart because one part of the defense couldn't hold its weight. Replacing a proven starter with a question mark is a gamble that high-paid executives lose their jobs over. Every game counts in this league. One missed coverage or one late rotation can be the difference between a playoff spot and a top 5 draft pick. The players know this. They see the business side of the game, and they know that nobody is safe. It creates an atmosphere where everyone is looking over their shoulder. If the trade goes through and the draft picks don't work out, we will be looking back at this moment as a massive mistake. On the other hand, if they turn that trade into a superstar receiver or a dominant offensive lineman, the front office will look like geniuses. It is a binary outcome. There is no middle ground when you trade away a core piece of your defense. The impact will be felt the very first time our defense takes the field in the regular season. We will either see a unit that is deeper and faster, or we will see a hole that is impossible to fill. Our entire defensive strategy hinges on this one massive decision. We can only hope they choose the path that leads back to victory. Let's look at the best-case scenario for our Broncos. In this world, the front office finds a team that is desperate for a cornerback. They manage to get a second-round pick and maybe even an extra pick later in the draft. They use those picks to grab a lockdown defender and a powerful blocker for the offense. The transition is smooth. The young players fit in perfectly, and the defense doesn't miss a beat. The team saves millions of dollars in future salary cap space, and the roster becomes one of the youngest and most talented in the entire league. If this works, we are looking at a masterclass in team building that puts us back in the championship conversation. But if it fails, the results will be devastating. Imagine trading away a known star and using that draft pick on a player who never develops. The secondary becomes a revolving door for opposing wide receivers. The veterans on the team lose trust in the management because they feel like the team isn't trying to win now. The locker room chemistry dissolves, and the season spirals out of control before we even hit the halfway point. It is a nightmare scenario that we have seen happen to other franchises. Short sentences increase the tension because every word carries weight. The margin for error is zero. The pressure is on the scouts and the general manager to be perfect. We are talking about the difference between a playoff run and another year of disappointment. The fans have been patient for a long time, but that patience is wearing thin. We want to see a clear plan. Trading a young starter feels like the opposite of a plan to some, while to others, it is the only way to get the resources we need. The tension is palpable in every interview and every press release. You can feel the weight of the decision hanging over the facility. Will they stay the course and keep the group together? Or will they roll the dice and hope the draft gods are on their side? Every phone call between general managers right now could change the history of the Denver Broncos. One yes or no changes everything. The clock is ticking toward the draft, and the tension is only getting higher for everyone involved. This is the moment where legacies are either made or broken by a single move on a busy draft weekend afternoon. To summarize the situation, the Broncos are at a crossroads where they must choose between a proven player and the mystery of the draft. Riley Moss is a fantastic asset, but his looming contract and our lack of draft picks have created a perfect storm for a trade. It is a classic football dilemma. Do you keep what you know is good, or do you chase the chance of being great? Be honest, would you trust a rookie in this situation? It is a tough question for any fan who has seen the ups and downs of this team. We want to win, but we also want to be smart with the future. If you want to stay on top of every move the Broncos make during this wild draft week, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel with notifications on. Your support helps us bring you the best insider updates. This isn't just a move for today, it's a decision that will define this team for years. The future of the franchise is being decided right now in the war room. This is a gamble we can't afford to lose under any circumstances right now.